Shalom to Emily Levy Shochat, Vice Chair at Kakal Keren Kayemet Liisrael, Chair of Environment and Science Committee, and Treasurer of MERCAZ Olami. Good evening.
Good evening, Erev Tov. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Before we dive in, just a few things about Emily. Emily is a member of Hod V'Hadar, the Masorti community in Kfar Saba. She made Aliyah in 1979 from the United States. Emily is a graduate of the Hornstein Program for Jewish Communal Service at Brandeis University. Her professional work in Israel has included teaching community organization at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, directing several nonprofit organizations, and consulting to a broad range of nonprofits, mostly in the educational and social services area. She has served as the chairperson of the Parents Committee at Tali School. Her volunteer work has included 5 years as national chairwoman of the Israel Masorti Movement. She currently serves as a chairwoman of the Jewish Pluralism Watch of Masorti Movement and as a board member of the Israeli Association for Ethiopian Jewry. Wow, Emily.
I feel the same way.
You've been a volunteer for MERCAZ Olami in the Masorti conservative movement for many years. What motivates you?
I think it probably goes back to my original decision with Jack, my husband, to come to live in Israel. We were not running away from America, but we wanted to be part of the development and the growth of this country. We came here in the late 70s. It was yet another interesting period in Israel. And I found ways to use my natural skills, my natural interests, and to match them to needs that I found in educational and social and certainly the religious area, particularly when we talk about Masorti. When we came, the whole idea of Masorti Judaism was still very fresh and was not well received at all. We're still not as well received as we'd like, but then we were really looked down upon. And that motivated me. I'm a community worker. I believe in change, social change. So that's it. And I like to work with people. I like people. I believe in people, and I believe in the strength that we all can bring together.
Let's dive into your position in Keren Kayemet Liisrael.
Yes.
What exactly is your role there?
Here now for almost 3 years as a representative of MERCAZ Olami. And it's taken me, quite frankly, and this is one of the realities of Kakal, it's an incredibly complicated organization that itself, since its creation in 1907, has gone through many changes organizationally and otherwise. It's a very wealthy organization, and because of that, it's a place that people want to be able to influence and be able to benefit from the money that it has. That money comes from the fact that Kakal is the owner of 13% of the land in the country. We don't manage the land, but the land is managed by the state of Israel, by the land authority, but we own it. So there's constantly sale, purchase, lots of activity going on. The money is then used for all kinds of programs, informal educational programs, other programs, and specifically the area that I'm responsible for, which is science and environment. And more specifically, since I've come into the position as the chairperson of the Environment and Science Committee, I have brought to the table, not I, but I've brought the message, but it's something that to me is pretty clear, that Kakal, which is the largest green organization in Israel and does wonderful work in forests. We're responsible for all the forests in the world, in the country. We're responsible for much that has to do with moving water, rivers and ponds, other sorts of things, city issues about drainage and so on. All of this is related to ultimately to the current issue of the climate crisis. So most of my time now has gone to moving forward what is about to become officially approved significant budget to set up a center, KKL Center for Fighting the Climate Crisis. And we're very excited about that. In addition, as a member of the executive committee, which is a sub-body of the directorate, I am involved with 10 other colleagues in looking at all the issues that have to do with the day-to-day operations of Kakao. And there is a lot to look at there. There are a lot of issues that need straightening out, need fixing up. Myself and the other two representatives of MERCAZ, Rabbi Balter, Rabbi Mauricio, and Gadi Pearl, were all clearly motivated more than anything else by the values we bring as conservative Jews, that the right things should be done and they should be done correctly. And that's not always the case at Kakao. And we, together with other colleagues, have found ways and looked for ways to try to make those the necessary changes. It's working against a very established system, which sometimes is hard to get around. But we are, and we're working at it.
Can you share a moment where you felt that your work in KKL is meaningful?
Absolutely. One is what I just spoke about, which is the whole process, which has to do with working with other directors, with doing a budgeting process, with working with the chair of the board, with working with professionals to conceptualize and move on this idea of the Center for Climate, dealing with the climate crisis. And that, without a doubt, is the main thing. And we now have a commitment for the next 4 years. We've hired a director for that center, a project manager, and that's that's definitely the most outstanding. The other thing is, the other area that I feel good about, and it's again, not me alone by any means, we're dealing lately, and many of the people who are listening probably, or listening, watching this, have heard about problems that have been taking place recently in the Negev Desert with Bedouin citizens of Israel, and Kakao is involved in that. And we are adamant about figuring out exactly how and how Kakao should be involved. And it probably should be, not because we own that land, not because it's our land, but because there's certain contractual obligations we have to the country. But to us, it's very concerned. It's very important that citizens of this country, and in this case, we're talking about Bedouin, we're talking about non-Jewish citizens. For us, all citizens are the same. They deserve the same treatment, appropriate from a point of view of the human and social concerns and so on. So it's something else that literally, as we speak now, there's a lot of activity going on, and it's complicated. It's complex because we see it one way, other people see it differently. So but I feel good about it because we're working. We've also succeeded in helping get monies for social service programs and informal educational programs, youth programs, in many of the peripheral areas of Israel that otherwise don't benefit from that. And of course, we make sure that the forests are used to enhance the lives of the people in those areas and countrywide.
You mentioned that you're working in collaboration with other
Yes.
Members. Can you share with us who are they representing?
Sure. One of our closest, and not one of, our closest ally, if you will, is our representatives from the Reform Movement, the World Reform Movement and the Israel Reform Movement. And although we have different ideologies and theologies, in terms of our values, our basic human and social values, we share a lot. So we're very close with them. We also work with representatives, because the KKL board is made up of representatives of political parties, Israeli political parties, as well as as I represent MERCAZ, which is represents an international Zionist body. There are other organizations like Hadassah Women, Emunah, WITSO. Some of these have branches in the United States and Canada, elsewhere around the world. We work with all these people. We work with people from Yesh Atid, from Meretz, and other bodies, pretty much from the center to the left of the political body, although we are not there in any way as a political from a party point.
Emily, you mentioned that part of the Environment and the Science Committee, you created a climate center to help fight the climate crisis. What are the future plans for this center and for the committee?
Okay, good. It's a great question, and we're in the process as we speak of developing it. The woman who's the director of it, the manager of it, only started 2 months ago. She, together with the chief scientist, are right now preparing their strategic plan for it. And next week we will have a meeting that she'll present it to myself, to me, to our committee, and so on. But in general, we've defined several areas. One area is there will be ongoing research and pilot projects, some of which already exist, some of the research that the chief scientist has done in the past, but this has to do with different techniques for renewable energy, different techniques for in agricultural settings, looking at things that have to do with the forests themselves, with trees, which of course are a very important piece in the whole issue of climate control. So that's one thing, research and pilot projects. Another is on-the-ground projects. We will be involved, hopefully, in some places, actually helping communities put up solar panels. We will help them however we can. And again, here the emphasis will be on peripheral communities that for which this is more difficult financially and otherwise. So that's a second thing. But more importantly, what we're going to do is focus on leadership development. We're thinking about working with the various municipalities and working together also with government agencies. The government's is beginning to do a lot of this. Unfortunately, Israel has kind of been slow in getting on the bandwagon, but we will work to do programs together with government agencies and with nonprofits, environmental organizations, to do development of leadership, young leadership, middle-aged leadership, older leadership, professional leadership in this whole area, just to strengthen from many, many different sides and perspectives the involvement with this world threat. I mean, we all talk about COVID, which is a threat, but the climate crisis is truly, it's a threat on a totally different level, and we must take it seriously.
So what I find fascinating is that Kakal will celebrate 125 years. It's a veteran organization, it's been around for many years, and it seems like that your work makes it still relevant for today, an innovative organization. It's not a freezing organization.
Our challenge, Neely, is to figure out what is our role as Kakal, and it is changing. The world is changing by going into this, the MERCAZ Olami, the climate center. And there is what for Kakal to do. There are those who say the fact that we have a government, we have a state. Kakal was created before there was a state. Maybe we don't need a Kakal now since the state. Well, I would question that. I think that there is a role. There are definitely are roles. We have to make sure, again, I said it before and I'll say it again, that we do the things that we can do better and best, and that we should do and nobody else can do, and we should do them well, and we should do them the way things should be done. So that's the challenge to us.
If MERCAZ Olami and the Masorti conservative movement had more power, what would that look like in Kakal?
Okay, one of the things that we're also looking at in Kakal, myself and my two colleagues from Masorti and the Reform, particularly, but not only, is the whole issue of pluralism, looking at the pluralism in Judaism, and that Kakal, if Kakal is going to fund, and it does, fund programs for youth, Zionist youth worldwide, well, we want to make sure, and we've done work and it's happening, that we also get funded. I mean, there's a lot of money there, and we want to make sure that it's equally distributed to the Reform, to the Conservative, to the Orthodox, to the Haredim who are now part of Kakal. They've joined into the game. Okay, that's great. We want to make sure that everybody's getting equal treatment. Now, the more power the more if we had not 3 representatives on a board of 37, but if we had 6 representatives, even 4, but certainly 4, anyone, each additional one adds to our power, our influence. It's as simple as that. If you're one of 37, you have 1/37th of a vote. If you're 4 of 37, you have a bigger vote. You have 11% of the vote, or whatever it is, 12%. And that's the way the game is. In the end, votes are taken. So the more people we have, the more we can advocate and work towards the values that are important to us. Pluralism, Jewish pluralism, and that be recognized in Kakao programs and budgets, and the issues of basic treatment of people, and of course, the whole issue of climate change. So those are our subjects, and that's it. And the more people we get, the better off we are. People out there who are listening to this, and I thank you all for taking your time to listen. Please be in touch with me and the rest of us and through Neely, that ask questions. If things are not clear to you, if you don't understand, sometimes you're going to see things in the press, you're going to say, what's going on there? Please turn to us, give us an opportunity to explain. Very important. We are also trying to proact and let you know, but please, that's one thing. Second thing is just keep in touch with Israel. Don't give up on Israel. We have, and some people feel that they have, that Israel's a tough place. It's a tough place, but it continues to be the special place and the important place for all of us as Jews. And I'm not sorry I'm here. I came here over almost 45 years ago, and there's been tremendous growth and development, and there will be more. And we've got to do that. So stick with us and support us. And then on a very, very practical level, there'll be a World Zionist Congress in 3 years from now. And the bottom line is, the more Masorti Jews who vote for the Masorti platform, the MERCAZ platform, the more votes we get, the greater, the more people we're going to have sitting around the table in the directorate. It's as simple as that. So I don't know what the number was this year. It doesn't matter. But if we just increase it another 50%, which is not a lot, it's another 10,000 votes worldwide. In the Masorti movement, we have hundreds of thousands of Jews. That's all we need. So that's what I say. That's what I'm asking you folks to do. You make sure that you ask me to do what you want me to do, what you think I should do, and let me and ask questions. Ask questions. It also helps me focus my work if I know what is important to people.
Emily, thank you very much. Toda rabba.
Bakasha, thank you, and thank you to the listeners out there.